Good evening and welcome. Not sure where you are. Perhaps actually we haven't done this for a while. If you're tuning in, wherever you are, maybe you could just drop a note in the comments where you are watching from, because I think it really does help everybody to understand this is a global issue. And we are at Let Women Speak. This is the campaign that basically for a long time has been asking people to reflect upon the erasure of our language. And the erasure goes two ways. And let's talk about that after you've been reminded just how brilliant I am for the whole last 5 years.
Changed my mind. Maybe it was right that if you take those views, maybe you should be cancelled.
Wow. You're on Talk Radio, right? He said, we've had a complaint. Somebody's phoned up because in one of your videos you're being untoward about paedophiles. Oh my God, don't be ridiculous. I'm not a vet, but I know what a dog is.
Would I go to a women's refuge in your world?
Well, no, because then it wouldn't be a women's refuge, would it?
Cancelled.
He's a man! There are boys and girls toilets in schools, and girls don't have access to single-sex facilities on the basis that we are changing. I'm asking you as a mother, do not use female spaces.
So then there's the problem, isn't it?
What do you have against trans women?
I don't. I just don't think they're women.
Cancelled.
I'm great, even if I do say so myself. I know we're not supposed to do that. It's so terribly un-British. Look, I've been talking about language for a long time, and it's all true, and everybody is beginning to realize it. And I'm not saying I'm the only one. I know that you guys know it too. Guys, girls, lads, lasses, whatever. Look, I think some of it comes from deciding. I was watching only for about 5 minutes. I cannot bear award shows. I think lockdown kind of dispelled so many myths. And look, before lockdown, it's very difficult once you learn about feminism. When I used to call myself a feminist, things are more difficult to watch because everything is bloody sexist. And now everything is just tinged with this woke stuff. So it makes everything difficult. And I think what happened through lockdown and through the sort of the growth of YouTube and people making their own content is it manufactured targeted programs with manipulative themes and activist intentions. They just look worse and worse and worse, and it kind of took the shine off everything. And you saw people who previously you may have admired who were in the public eye. Everybody began to see that they were really nothing special. And so anyway, so I watched a tiny bit of this award show, and it was like actor, and it was a woman, and I just thought, yeah, who pushed for that? It wasn't me. Who pushed for chairperson as opposed to chairman or chairwoman? It wasn't me. I don't think that's a good idea. I quite like the fact that women are identifiable in the roles. I quite like the fact that when someone says chairwoman, I know that that person is a woman, although do we? I don't know. But, you know, for a tiny bit of time, we could hear the progress women were making because we knew that it was, you know, female singer, that it was actress, that it was chairwoman. And look, I'm sorry, feminists, but that's one of the things feminists push for. And then that's also the drive and push for the gender neutral language, so-called, in Parliament. And that was always going to be the open door to all this other stuff coming in. Now, I was just on GB News. I don't know if you watched it, but what award show are we talking about? It doesn't matter. It's just an award show. It's just the point. The point of the story is the word actor. And it irritates me. And trying to pretend, look, if women had reached some semblance of equality, then I think fair play. Maybe you could just say actor or dramatic or whatever. But we haven't reached that. And I like being a woman, and I like to see what women are doing. Doesn't necessarily mean I like many other women, but I like to see what women are doing. I like to understand our achievements. I think it's important for little girls growing up to see actresses and chairwomen. You know, we don't need to say female CEO or female blah, blah, blah. And then we don't need necessarily to do that. But it is quite important if you want girls to know that they can be whatever it is that they so desire, then surely it's important to actually tell everybody who are women. It's so weird. I was a shepherdess, not a shepherd. There you go. That's a comment, by the way. So that's what I want to say about that. It really annoys me. I went to a parents' meeting, and it was about college. It was one of my older sons who's now not at college anymore, and they said, "You're young person. You know, our young people, you're young person." And they've said that at schools that I've gone to. And then one of my kids is starting a new educational establishment and then comes home in the tutor room. It's a whacking great big pride display. It's September. And then I read, which I hadn't found on the website when I looked around this place. I was like, oh, this is good. You know, I like this idea. I couldn't see a single rainbow anywhere. And I thought, fantastic. This is a school. This is a place of learning. This is an educational center. I didn't think for a minute, this is another ideologically captured pile of crap. And then they do the whole Pride Month, LGBT History Month. And then they advise if you want to learn more about LGBT issues, go to Mermaids and watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, why is a school or a sixth form, why are they recommending RuPaul's Drag Race? Why does a child who think they may be homosexual or bisexual, why do they need to watch a TV program about it? Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Like, what? It really does annoy me. Now, I, as a preacher of what parents must do, I now have to go into that school and I now have to talk to them. And before I do that, I'm just going to send them the clip of RuPaul's Drag Race with a man squirting pretend foamy milk out of his fake enormous breasts. And I'm going to ask them, what good do they think that would do for my daughter or my son? Like, what, like, for a child questioning their sexuality, their sexual orientation, what good will it do for them to watch that pile of crap? What good will it do them to contact a charity that has had to get rid of someone because they were a paedophile apologist? What good will that do? It's absolutely just outrageous. I am so sick and tired of it. I'm telling you, I'm sure over the next couple of years, I will have to see the inside of a hospital. You know, it's unfortunate, but that stuff happens. I am going to tell every single nurse and doctor, every receptionist, every cleaner, every single person in that hospital who is wearing a rainbow badge or wearing a rainbow lanyard, I shall be telling them that I think it's offensive and it's anti-women. Every time I step on a train, I should be telling them that I find their lanyards offensive. Everywhere I go now, every shop I go into, I went into a shop in Bath, actually, called Tiger. And there was a large woman with enormous breasts with a they, them pronoun badge on. I just thought, who's that for? I mean, the only chance she's ever going to have of somebody using her pronouns is if I'm in the store and I say, oh, I just asked them what they thought, or I just asked them if I could find some cards, or do you sell rubber stamps? And the person behind the counter goes, oh, you can ask them or my colleague. I mean, when, like, anyway, I just want to say that here at Let Women Speak, at the Adult Human Female Store, we've been focusing on language for a long time. Our billboard is 5 years this month. 5 years ago, we put it up. And we've been talking about the importance of language. And God, let me just talk briefly about feminists. and about feminists who decide to consistently pretend that the whole world is turning far right because they're morons and they're insane, and they don't have the power and they don't have the control of people that they think they deserve, because they've written some really, really wonderful, boring essays. So what they do, there's a few of them that when I tweet, so I tweeted about a woman rang into TERF Talk, and she was talking about the pamphlet she got, the literature she got along with her cervical smear. And it had women and people who identify, people who were born female or trans men or gender identity, some nonsense, but it didn't just say women, right? It didn't just say women. And for me, that's an erasure of language, because actually the word woman means adult human female. And if you then do word woman and other, and you introduce words that are supposed to describe another, so a noun for another person that actually is a woman, but they call themselves something else. If you start doing that, then you do dilute the word woman, because the word woman is enough to describe adult human females. And if you do these caveat other words to be inclusive, then you are actually diluting the word woman and what it means. You are saying that that word woman is not enough to describe the people that it's talking about, right? So that's what we're talking about here. So when you say you can't use boys and girls, you just use children, you're basically saying that the word boy, there is something inherently wrong with the word boy and the word girl. And so that's why it's important. And as soon as you introduce other words in place of or in addition to man, woman, boy, girl, you are basically like diluting that word and saying that that word isn't enough, isn't accurate enough to describe the people that you're talking about. So that's why I think it's truly vital that that you go into school, and if your school doesn't say the word boys and girls but says your children, our pupils, where you know, and I don't mean that every single time they say our pupils, our students, that would be normally our boys and girls, because that's simply not true. But when it is just clunkily replaced. So I was told by a dinner lady at my kids' primary school, which is a state school, socioeconomic class of people is mixed, but the very bottom is not as poor as you might get in a city, and the very well off is not anywhere near city well off. It's sort of country well off, because actually really country well off people, they send their children to private school. And actually lots of people in the country send their kids to private school when they're not even that well off. So if you're sending your child to a state primary school, you really don't have a lot of money. It's quite unheard of. And I'm making huge generalizations, but I still believe it to be true. Unless you live in a village, unless you send your kids to a really lovely, tiny little village school. And that wasn't one of those schools. And so what would be the motivation of anyone saying that you can't say good boy or good girl to children eating their food, who've eaten all their food or drank all their water or said please or thank you? What possibly could be the motivation? And I think actually we don't know this. We haven't known this. But that's the beginning of this. That's what all of this is. All of this is just paving the way to dilute the language so much so that the word woman and the word man and the word boy and the word girl is no longer enough. Now, if you like what we do here at Let Women Speak, if you like the fact that what we do is we ask women to speak for themselves, that we create the space for women to speak for themselves, then I ask you to join in by getting one of our sticker packs. Or maybe you want to get one of our incredible garments so you can start your own conversation. Because what it's going to take is every single last one of you standing up and fighting for what you believe. It's going to take you saying to that person wearing that lanyard that you don't like it. that you think it's an anti-woman lanyard, that lanyard is actually saying that men belong in women's spaces when those men decide they belong in women's spaces. I'm going to go and have a chat with the school about what's in that tutor room and how that can actually make some children feel uncomfortable, especially ones that don't think women have penises, and what that, like, why is a school promoting sort of sexual orientation as one of the most important things? There is no other display in that school. There is not a display about disabilities. There's not a display about autism, which, let's face it, more children are going to be affected by autism. There's not a big display in a tutor room about, you know, sometimes children with autism find the social cues a little bit tricky. So maybe what we could do as a collective is be a bit kinder. Personally, I think all of it's a waste of time. But that I think we're living in a situation right now that children are already talking about sexuality, sexual orientation, sex acts, porn, sex work, and gender identity shit so much that having that on the wall basically is telling that any children that has a dissenting view on this, that they are not welcome to speak about it. And I think what children know in that room is that if they do have a different view, and they speak up, not only will their friends and their peers turn against them, but also it might be against the school rules. And that teacher who's put that display up for the first day of term. And what is that? What is the motivation of that teacher? Oh, it's the first day of term. Do you know what the children need to know? They need to know that, and there's a flag that's like black with the rainbow pushing through it. Like, I don't even know what that is. But what that teacher wanted to do, it could have done anything on that board. Could have had learning, could have had tips for homework, tips for making friends, could have had any number of things on that board, but it chose sexuality and gender identity. And we have to ask ourselves, is that teacher a teacher or are they an activist? Is it likely that that teacher is an activist? Is that likely that when I go and see that specific teacher, that I will find out some terrible things and I will think that my children are therefore unsafe in the care of that teacher? Because I do. I mean, I'm sure the same as you. You choose a school, and I suspect all of us think during Pride, oh Christ, I hope the school doesn't do anything. What are the school going to do? Or when you get the LGBT crap, you think, oh God, what are they going to do? Like, who are they going to talk about? What is my child going to be brainwashed with? And this school I really looked at. I looked at the signs on the toilet doors. Like, are they male and female toilets? You know, I asked to use the lavatory while I was there, just so I could see, are they male or female toilets, or are they unisex? Like, what the hell? And then the first day. I mean, really? What is that for? Who is that for? So, you're going to have to start correcting people, whether you're comfortable or not. You're going to have to start. You're going to have to start saying, excuse me, that's my son. That's not a young person. Excuse me, that's my daughter. That's not a young person. These are boys and girls. These used to be parents and guardians. Like, we weren't even called parents in this room. They don't want us to be called parents. I bet I don't even know yet, but I suspect that I won't be Mrs. on anything. I'll be MX. I don't want to have to fight in my personal life. I do enough. I don't want to have to start fighting people and destroying people in my personal life and removing. I mean, I've done it already. I've done it in every school that my kid's ever been at. But it's so utterly shameful. So anyway, Ireland, Dublin event, is going to cost the most I've ever spent on an event due to the requirements over there, the official requirements. It's going to cost me more than any event that I've done that wasn't. I mean, if we exclude the travel to anywhere else. Oh no, New Zealand cost me the most because it was 10,000 on security. But this is mounting up, and I don't know why, but I would really appreciate if you think that what we do is good. If you think the event in Ireland is going to be good, get yourself a ticket, make a donation. More importantly, be the billboard. Get some merch, wear it. There's lots of people that sell merch. This is the only organization that sells amazing merch that is global. We have sold t-shirts to over a quarter of the countries in the known world. And why is that? Because it's sublime. Because the original definition t-shirt that we've been selling since 2018 is an absolutely clear, defiant message to everybody that we will not be silent. We will not forget what we are. We will not let you take our language from us. The word woman doesn't mean anything else. No one else is welcome in our club. Nobody. You're either born a girl and you become an adult girl. You're either born a girl and you become a woman. And that's the only way you get into our club. Nobody else. Nobody else is invited. And here, what we do is we start by telling people what's going on. Then, when enough people have heard, we change the law. We change the world. We change it. We get rid of the GRA. We form a political party. 17 weeks they've had our application, by the way. 17 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks it normally takes. They've had it for 17 weeks. I recently remembered that, in fact, somebody tweeted it, that when I went to Canberra to do the Let Women Speak event there, the government was so frightened, the federal government of Australia was so frightened of us. Do you know what they did? They lit up a building in trans colours that we were going to stand right near. So the night before and that night, they lit up a building in trans colours. They are afraid of us, people. When everybody relies on silence, they are afraid of people that speak. That's what we do here with Let Women Speak. We basically break that silence. And that becomes a really, really revolutionary act. And we break that silence. And when we have the Party of Women, oh my Lord, we will just be unstoppable. And we won't stop until it stops. So, Party of Women is coming. You have to be the billboard. You have to raise questions. You have to speak up. Don't let anything go. If it makes you uncomfortable, just say it. So, anyway, it's too hot, which is why I've got an enormous air conditioning unit behind me. Let me see. If you can speak up, even when you feel afraid, even when you know it's going to cause a little bit of discomfort, I promise we will win. If you can just don't let the little things slide. If you can just make sure every time somebody tries to steal a bit of your language that you don't let them, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose.